Everyone talks about hitting six figures or becoming a millionaire, but the real game changer is when you hit $20,000. So whether that is in savings, investments, or income, crossing this number changes how you think, how you spend, and even how opportunities start to show up in your life. And this is because survivor mode ends when you hit $20,000. When you're under $20,000, most of your money is just going to your necessities to keep you alive, like rent, groceries, and bills. And every unexpected expense feels like a crisis. Like if something happens to your car, it just feels like your whole world is ending. And that's because 56% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency without going into debt. So once you hit $20,000, you finally have a cushion that feels really comfortable. And that constant stress that's like, whoa, what if something bad happens? That starts to fade because you know that no matter what, you at least have some cushion and you at least have a little bit of wiggle room, even if something happens, even if your car breaks down, even if you get fired from your job. You have a little bit to kind of keep you going until you figure something out. It just gives you option and flexibility, so you're not like desperately taking the next job even if it's like a terrible shitty job. You gain time and option. Money isn't just money, it's freedom and flexibility. When you have $20,000, you can afford to take a risk. Maybe you can leave your toxic job and start a side hustle, or maybe you can say yes to opportunities that don't pay immediately. Instead of living paycheck to paycheck, you're now thinking, how can I use this money to make more money? And this is because while money isn't everything, not having it sure feels that way. So having this cushion really helps you mentally get to a place that feels less stressful, that just feels more calm and more safe and secure. You shift from playing defense to playing offense. Because before $20,000, you're always playing defense. You're cutting expenses, you're avoiding overdrafts, you're dodging late fees. But after 20K, you start playing offense. You're investing, you're building credit, and you're leveraging money for financial growth. You stop surviving and you start strategizing. Having that amount of money in your bank account really shifts the way that you think and feel about money, because it's like seeing that you did something, you accomplished that milestone. It really gives you confidence with money and you start to shift your mindset around money. Maybe before that you didn't think that you were good with money, or maybe you've had bad experiences with being in debt. That can really warp the way that you view yourself and how you view yourself in relation to money, which is actually a very dangerous thing. Your self-identity when it comes to money will really start to show up in your reality and in your life, kind of like a mirror. Like if you think you're bad with money, if you're always saying I'm broke, like even if it's a joke, your brain can't really tell the difference, and it's just gonna start embodying whatever you keep repeating or saying out loud. And you take on that identity and it shows up in your life. You make these jokes, you're gonna start to feel like maybe you're not abundant, maybe you are broke, maybe you are bad with money. And that kind of leads you down the wrong path. But when you've been able to save up $20,000, that really signals to your brain, and it really helps you shift into the identity of somebody who is good with money, somebody who can set financial goals and accomplish them. And you might even feel like, hey, that wasn't that hard. If I can save $20,000 and it didn't feel that difficult, then imagine what I can do in just a few years, especially now that I have this money that can work for me and grow for me. So you get out of survival mode and then you're strategizing. You're like, how can I make this grow as fast as possible so that I can buy back my freedom with my time? And the mindset shift, the mindset change is going to be the most important thing. Something shifts in your brain when you hit $20,000. You stop thinking things like I'm broke and you start to think in terms of net worth. You look at opportunities differently because now you recognize that every single purchase that you make is either an asset or a liability. A fun example is, I feel like as I've gotten older, I've stopped buying cheap fast fashion because I realized and I recognize that it's not a good investment for my wardrobe. They're all gonna break down eventually. I'm gonna end up with nothing, and all the while I'm gonna look like shit wearing all this cheap ugly clothes. And the way that I show up to my job, the way that I show up to work events looking like that, that's not a good investment in my future either. So I start to swap out, like maybe I swap out 5 cheap items for 1 high quality item. So maybe in a year you buy less things, you buy less items, but the items that you buy are higher quality because you recognize that that is an investment. Or maybe your friends and family are encouraging you to upgrade your car and get a fancy new car, or get a nicer apartment, or go on a luxurious vacation and fly first class. But you look at a fancy new car as a depreciating asset because you recognize that driving off the lot, that amount of depreciation, it's like thousands of dollars, and you recognize that no car ride is worth thousands of dollars to you because you have other priorities. Maybe you just rather reach financial independence earlier, or maybe you would just rather invest that money, or maybe you'd rather use that money to travel or do something else that is more of a priority to you. So you're not gonna waste your money and buy this liability that's not gonna grow. Maybe you'd rather take that money, save up, and put down a down payment for a rental property. Or maybe you'd rather just put some of that money in your emergency fund and then invest the rest in the stock market because you recognize that there's an opportunity cost here and you see the potential that your money has to grow and to make more money for you. And one thing I think about a lot is this one girl on TikTok. She's always talking about how even when she's traveling or even when she's on vacation, she's earning and making so much money because she has so much money invested in the stock market. And I looked at my portfolio last year and I looked at how much I made, and it's grown by more than $10,000 in the past 365 days. And I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that until I sat down and calculated and ran the numbers. And that just made me realize that that money, thousands of dollars, was the easiest money I've ever made in my life because I didn't even realize I made it. I literally made it while I was sleeping, while I traveled, while I went to different countries, while I literally got drunk with my friends. That money was still working and still growing for me. And that was such a powerful realization, and it made me just want to invest so much more because I'm like, wow, my money will never get tired. It'll never be hungover. It'll still work hard for me even when I'm just like living my best life in Italy or in Vietnam, just traveling in Mexico, having a blast. If you're serious about reaching financial freedom, maybe you want to retire early, I think the one thing that's going to really help you is to think in terms of how can I make my money make me so much money that instead of spending my actual money, I'm actually just gonna spend the money that my investments make so that I never run out of money. And how can I get to that point? And I think that mental shift is going to be really helpful and really motivating, especially when there's just like so many temptations, like people inviting you to things and you're just like unsure of how to say no, or you're feeling conflicted and you're like, should I buy all of these nice things that I want in this moment, or should I kind of wait and leave it in my cart for a few days while I kind of think on it? I think having these financial goals and zooming out and looking at the big picture just really helps you keep your eye on the prize, and it really helps you stay motivated, especially when things get a little bit tough, because $20,000 is really the gateway number. At $2,000 or even $5,000, you can really easily burn through that money with just one emergency. But at $20,000, you have momentum. It's enough that if it's invested, can actually compound, grow, and change the trajectory of your financial journey. You're not rich yet, but you've proven to yourself that you can stack money, and that's the hardest part. So no, $20,000 won't buy you a mansion or a luxury car unless you move to a different country. But it is the number that separates survival mode from strategy mode. Once you hit it, the game changes forever. If you're working hard towards that number, keep stacking, keep going. If you've already crossed that number, then your focus should be on $50,000 and then $100,000. I want to know, where are you on your financial journey right now? Drop it in the comment below and let's talk money. Okay, that's it for today's little video. I hope you liked it. Let me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you next time. Bye!